Jack Nicholson finally confesses the truth about Pierce Brosnan at age 88. John Joseph was the name given to Jack Nicholson. Nicholson was born in Neptune City, New Jersey, on April 22, 1937. Nicholson's early life was full of secrets and strength. He grew up thinking that his grandma was his mother and that his mother was his sister. He would only find out the truth when he was an adult. That challenging start helped him develop the emotional depth and complexity that he would later offer to so many memorable roles. Nicholson was always interested in how people act and had a natural talent for acting from a young age. In the late 1950s, his talents led him to Hollywood, where he worked as an actor, writer, assistant, an all-around creative force in the industry. Nicholson's climb to fame was steady and amazing, thanks to roles that showed off his unique charm, quick wit, and brave willingness to explore the darker or more unusual sides of human nature. His big break came in 1969 with Easy Rider, where he played an alcoholic lawyer named George Hanson. This role won him his first Academy Award nomination and made him one of Hollywood's most intriguing new stars right away. Nicholson's career took off from that point on in a way that is not often witnessed in the industry. The 1970s made him famous with his groundbreaking appearances in 5 easy pieces, The Last Detail, Chinatown, and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. The last of these won him his first Oscar for Best Actor and showed off the raw intensity, intelligence, and authenticity that defined his profession. Nicholson kept expanding his repertoire throughout the next few decades, making it easy for him to switch between genres, including thrillers, comedies, dramas, and even superhero movies. In Stanley Kubrick's The Shining 1980, he played Jack Torrance, one of the most terrifying and famous characters in horror history. His threatening energy and erratic conduct have become a permanent part of popular culture. He changed the way people saw the villain in Batman 1989 with his bold and iconic performance as the Joker. He won more Oscars for his roles in Endearment 1983 and As Good as It Gets 1997, making him one of the few performers in history to win 3 Academy Awards and one of the most nominated stars to ever appear on screen. Every performance showed that he was a master of nuance, emotion, timing, and presence, qualities that made him stand out among other great performers. Jack Nicholson didn't just act over his long and successful career. He also got behind the camera and bravely tried his hand at directing, which is a really hard job. His directing experience, albeit limited, shows that he has a restless artistic curiosity and is open to trying new things with tone, character, and story. He added that drive was his first time directing in 1971, a movie that showed the anxious, searching atmosphere of the time through the perspective of a college basketball player who was torn between his own goals and the chaos in society. Nicholson then made Going South in 1978, a strange, free-spirited Western comedy in which he also featured. It gave audiences a strange mix of frontier grit and humorous charm. In 1990, more than 10 years later, he went back to directing To Jake, the long-awaited sequel to Chinatown. The picture was ambitious and artistically heavy, but it showed Nicholson's determination to make one of cinema's most famous noir storylines even bigger. In addition to directing, he also lent his voice to scripting, working on a number of films, notably The Wonderfully Strange and Dreamy Head, 1968. The psychedelic cult movie made for the monkeys that like surrealism long before it got popular. Nicholson kept giving great performances on screen even as he looked into those behind-the-scenes responsibilities. In 2006, he played Frank Costello in Martin Scorsese's The Departed, which was one of the most memorable roles of his later career. Nicholson played a crazy, power-hungry Boston mob boss who was full of danger, unpredictability, and dark charm. He was surrounded by great actors like Matt Damon and Leonardo DiCaprio, but he still managed to take over every scene he was in, changing the film's tension around him. His performance was so interesting and complex that it got him a Golden Globe nomination. This shows that he will still be able to dominate the screen well into his 70s. The next year, he completely changed gears and starred with Morgan Freeman in The Bucket List, which came out in 2007. A touching mix of humor and sadness. Nicholson played a rich, sharp-tongued man who makes unexpected friends and finds meaning while racing through a list of last exploits. People like the movie and its message about death, connection, and living life to the fullest. Nicholson shaped movies for decades, whether as a director, writer, or actor. He finally quit performing after appearing in the romantic comedy How Do You Know? In 2010. His retirement signaled the end of an era, but the wide range of his work continues to shape the careers of filmmakers and performers for generations to come. He left behind a legacy that is both huge and completely unique. Jack Nicholson is known for more than only his work on screen. He is also known for his unique personality. He was naughty, charming, frequently unpredictable, and always unapologetically himself. His famous arched eyebrows, mischievous grin, and cutting wit have become Hollywood trademarks. Nicholson lived as brazenly off-screen as he did on-screen. He was known for his love of basketball, his longtime presence at Los Angeles Lakers games, and his close friendships with people like Marlon Brando, Warren Beatty, and Angelica Houston. Friends and co-workers always say that he is friendly, generous, and very loyal, even if he is famous and successful. Jack Nicholson's marriage to Sandra Knight is still one of the most interesting and important parts of the actor's early personal life. Nicholson married Knight while they were both young and ambitious, and just starting out in the entertainment profession. At the time, Nicholson was still on his way to becoming a Hollywood superstar. Sandra Knight was an actor, painter, and creative person in her own right. She was a calming influence and artistic friend for Nicholson during his early years in Los Angeles. People have long said that their marriage, which began in 1962, was one of mutual respect, shared artistic goals, and the hopeful excitement of two young actors trying to make it in a competitive environment. Knight and Nicholson had a simple but creatively rich existence while they were married. They were surrounded by other aspiring performers, directors, and artists who were part of the core of Hollywood's growing independent film movement in the 1960s. Fame, red carpets, and accolades were not yet a part of this time. Instead, it was sculpted by long days spent studying scripts, late nights spent talking about art and movies, and the persistent work of attempting to get parts in little plays. Their family life was a mix of hard work and creativity, with books, paintings, and the exciting yet messy energy of adolescence. Nicholson, who would later become one of the most famous performers in movies, built important emotional and artistic foundations during these years. The birth of their daughter, Jennifer Nicholson, in 1963, added another important layer to their marriage. Nicholson felt a deep feeling of responsibility and emotional depth when he became a father when his career was still up in the air. People often say that Sandra Knight helped him stay stable and motivated throughout these important years. This gave him the opportunity to grow as an actor and as a young father, learning how to reconcile his career with family life. Later on, Jennifer would follow her own creative path and become a designer and artist, just like her parents had done when they constructed their magnificent home. Even though their early marriage was sweet and full of hope, Nicholson and Knight ended up going in different directions. Hollywood's intensity, Nicholson's growing ambitions, and the changing rhythms of their personal life made it harder and harder to get close to one another. Nicholson's only marriage ended in 1968 when they got a divorce. This has been a source of interest for fans and biographers for decades. Even if their romantic relationship ended, it did so on rather respectful terms. Knight has talked about Nicholson in subsequent years with warmth and understanding, saying that even though they weren't meant to be together, the time they spent together was important and genuinely human. Nicholson's marriage to Sandra Knight is still the only thing that has happened in his life. He never got married again, which made a lot of people think about how that first relationship changed the way he saw love, companionship, and independence. Their time together gives us a look into Nicholson's life before the Oscars, before the famous parts, and before the mythology. It serves as a reminder that even the most mysterious figures in Hollywood have soft spots in their lives that help define who they are now. Jack Nicholson is 88 years old and has reached a place in his life when he talks with an unvarnished blend of honesty, comedy, nostalgia, and the kind of perspective that only time can give. Nicholson gave a rare look into his actual feelings. When asked about Pierce Brosnan, colleague he has admired from afar for decades, his thoughts weren't the usual polished Hollywood praises. Instead, they were honest, Nicholson-style musings about talent, professionalism, and how the film industry is changing. Nicholson started by saying that he always loved the guy, and from there, he painted a thoughtful picture of Brosnan that mixed admiration with the wisdom of an elderly master looking back at the profession they both committed their lives to. Nicholson was the first to talk about Brosnan's presence, which he thinks is very underestimated in today's movies. There's a steadiness to Pierce, he observed, stressing that hardly every actor can take control of a room just by strolling in. Nicholson said that for years he had studied Brosnan from a distance and was intrigued by how the younger actor could be both charming and disciplined. Nicholson thinks that that balance, which is so easy to miss, is what makes the good performers stand out from the great ones. He may be smooth, but he's not shallow, Nicholson said. There is a difference, adding that Brosnan has a natural dignity that even the best actor can't imitate. Nicholson gave a rather philosophical view of Brosnan's work as James Bond. Nicholson has never been in the Bond universe, although he did say that he liked how Brosnan brought the series back to life in the 1990s. Nicholson said, "Most men look like they're trying too hard when you put a tux on them. But Pierce made it look like he had always lived in one." He said that Brosnan brought back the right mix of grace and menace that the character needs. Nicholson thought this was especially impressive because he was under a lot of pressure to play such an iconic role. Nicholson said, "That takes guts. People don't understand how brave it is to play someone that everyone else already has an opinion about." But what Nicholson seemed to like most was the depth he saw behind Brosnan's shiny surface. He commented that, "Behind those beautiful lines and easy grin is a real person." Nicholson said that he has always been drawn to actors who are real in their characters, not by using method acting or emotional theatrics, but by simply bringing their own life experiences into their performances. He thinks Brosnan is one of those actors. Nicholson said, "You can see it in his eyes. There are stories in there." Nicholson also praised Brosnan's strength, saying that he faced personal sorrow and work stress with grace. Nicholson claimed that Hollywood can eat you up, but Pierce stayed calm and classy. That's not common. He praised Brosnan's ability to be humble while achieving success, saying that this trait was more widespread in old Hollywood than it is now. Nicholson's final words were honest and showed how much he admired the person. He said, "He's the kind of actor you respect. Smart, good-looking, and dependable. He never had to yell to get you to listen." Nicholson's statements had a special meaning because he was 88 years old, had lived a long life, and didn't have to impress anyone. They weren't flattery or nostalgia. They were a veteran's honest homage to a fellow artist who worked hard to earn his place and respect.